Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Coffee with Tea. Yep, I'm your host, the amazing T Street. I'm so excited. This topic this morning is near and dear to my heart because it is my theme for the year. Today's topic: don't skip the process of the process. Can I tell you, I'm always amazed at how we all want the shortcuts of life. We want to get there, we want to get to the destination as fast as we can. GPS will say, give us the fastest route to blank. And then they'll give it, and we'll be like, I think my route is faster. Now, they have surveyed it and used sky drones and all kind of things to make sure that they know where the accidents are. But no. We want the shortcut. So we take what we think is a shortcut, and sometimes it becomes the long cut. So today I want to talk about what is the process of the process? Why is it important? Processes are designed for a reason. They're designed to help people like me and you get from point A to point B in the best way, not necessarily the fastest way, but in a way that is more sustainable than not. One of my friends is an IKEA fan. She loves all things IKEA. And every time I go to her house, there's some IKEA stuff sitting in like a pile. And I laughed at her. I was like, why is your stuff always in a pile and never put together? She's like, they just be messing stuff up. And I can't never get this furniture together. Da da da. And I sat down one day and I said, well, where are the instructions? She said, girl, you don't need the instructions. All you got to have is the picture. I was like, no, I think you're supposed to have the instructions because they give you the order of when you're supposed to put some things together. Because if you skip the order and you try to put step 3 before step 2, step 4 is not going to fit. So it's a process provides the order in which things ought to happen. And because we are so impatient sometimes, we skipped the processes of life to try to get to the end goal or the outcome. And in doing so, our processes sometimes elongate the time it takes us to get there. So the very thing we're trying to do, which is be impatient and cut off time, gets added. First thing we have to understand is that processes are designed for a reason. The next thing, there is value in each step of a process. There is value in going from point A to point B to point C. That's why I try not to look at the map when I'm doing GPS. I try to just follow. Turn right, turn left, turn right, turn left. Because if I look at the map, I'm trying to follow the map and I'm making wrong turns. I'm doing all the things. There is value in each step. Don't take shortcuts. I tell young people all the time, there are no shortcuts to greatness because even if you get there quickly, if you don't have the grounding and the knowledge and the integrity and the character, the things that are necessary at the foundation, and you skip those steps, you might get there fast, but you won't stay there long because there are no shortcuts to greatness. There are consequences of skipping steps. Sometimes, if you take the steps, you engage in opportunities that you did not even know existed along the pathway. But if you skip steps, you sometimes miss opportunities. You make mistakes and errors, which are costly in terms of time. So it's so important that as we are going through life, that we stop and we go, I'm just going to follow the process so that I don't get delayed in getting to the product. Sometimes you have to go through the process in order for the product to be at optimal levels of capacity for you. So don't skip it because there are consequences to skipping steps. And finally, this topic came up because yesterday my assistant director and I were interviewing young people for summer positions in Pathways to Progress. And I asked her while we were in a break, I said, as you go forward into the next of your career at the end of this summer, what's the greatest lesson that I've taught you that you're going to take with you? And she said, you told me and all of us in 2021, and by the way, this is what she passes on to the young people that she supervises, the college kids that she supervises as we get ready for the program. We talk about it in training, we talk about it during the program, and we talk about it at the end when kids are able to see it. She said, the big lesson, T, that you taught me that I will take with me everywhere I go in my future. She's got a big future. She's 25 years old. She said, trust the process. That's the piece that you have said to me over and over, and it has made so much sense. She goes, I remember the first year I came to work for you, and you kept telling us you got to trust the process. Developing young people is a process, it doesn't happen overnight. And if we try to skip the process, we cut kids out of the greatness that's in them, that there's a process to developing them. And when we would try to go off course and do it our way, you'd be like, nope, we're not doing that. There is a process and a formula that works in developing our young people to see who they are so that they can walk in the greatness of who they are. She goes, and year after year after year, I have trusted the process and it has worked. I'm now using it in grad school, and the process of how I'm studying differently than undergrad has made all the difference for why my experience is so much better. So I want to say to you today, whatever you do, don't skip the process of the process. One, processes are designed for a reason. Two, there is value, yep, in each step. So don't try to take shortcuts. There are consequences if you skip processes. And finally, trust the process. It has worked for me, and I know that it works for young people. I look at my own self and I see the process that God is taking me through and developing me as a young future minister, someone who's walking to become a minister. It's a process. And where I am today is so different than where I was even 2 months ago when I started down this journey. But it's so vastly different than where I was 22 years ago when I started on this pathway. And I'll say to you, it is the process that develops us into the very best versions of ourselves. Everything in life is a process. Don't skip the process of the process. For me, the process to become the Amazing T Street was hell. The product that is the Amazing T Street is fire. So I've learned, don't skip the process. Have an amazing day. Good morning, Lady Overflow.